So while South Africa continues to battle stage 6 load shedding, Nersa has added to that burden. The energy regulator now approving an 18.65% electricity tariff hike, which comes into effect from the 1st of April this year. Nersa saying that this was a difficult decision to make, considering the country's economic challenges. Let's unpack this further with the director of the Economic Modelling Academy, Dr. Pali Lehohla, joins us via our video link this morning. Dr. Lehohla, great to see you. And it's a bitter pill to swallow.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's an inconvenience for some South Africans, right, to have this energy increase and to have ongoing load shedding. But of course, for the bulk of South Africans, this is a massive issue of actually choosing between, can I afford electricity today or can I buy my family food today?
Well, I mean, the problem is that we got to go back to Noam Chomsky when he talks about the technique of privatization. The standard formula is that, you defund, you make sure that things do not work. People get angry, and then you hand it over to the private sector. And through all that path, the poor will always be taken to the wall. Because they cannot afford. I mean, the Statistician General has just revised the poverty line. It is going up to the upper bound will be about 1,800. And that's the level at which the poor have to be compensated or provided for to meet their basic needs. Out of that, you increase electricity by 18%, you defeat the purpose. So in the process of governance, you find very, very much conflictual approaches to governance, to economic governance. And this pits the poor against the rich against the poor. That's the space in which we are. So the context that we are seeing Nersa having no choice but to increase this to 18% has a root cause in our conflicted policy space, which is, of course, highly contested. Eskom was corporatized in 2000, in 2001 or 2002, having performed as the best institution, getting credit higher than the sovereign itself when it was not corporatized. Now, what was the sickness in Eskom? There was no sickness. The sickness starts with corporatization, and then subtle privatization. Then the issue of just energy transition comes into the formula as we saw now, and closing down working coal-powered stations like Comat, which was pumping 1,000 megawatts. And then it was said that the last one to be closed was 121 megawatts, and the writer said it was very little anyway. It counted for nothing. It counted a lot, 121 megawatts, when we don't have any megawatts, and you replace it by 75 megawatts. What kind of logic is that? Yeah. Then there is a whole development communication that is absolutely wrong. So there are so many things that point to the vested interests that have led Eskom to where it is, and who will suffer? The poor.
Yeah, as usual. I mean, President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday apologizing to the country for what it's worth. He says for the inconvenience of load shedding. He cited the fact that inland schools went back to class just this week. I mean, what do we make with an apology from the president in this context?
Well, the president was in the war room. Financing for regular maintenance was withdrawn. And in fact, you defund, make sure things don't work. The people get angry and then privatize it. Sell it for a song. That's what we are headed towards at the moment. So I don't understand the apology. I mean, the president has been there in the war room. He understands the importance of Eskom, but the decisions that they have taken, particularly in the period of trying to please the world with the just energy transition, were completely foolish. One is not saying don't burn the planet. But when you take foolish decisions like those ones at that apex level, it really begs the question, how are we led? Because to close a plant that is functioning, 1,000 megawatts, if Russia-Ukraine war didn't occur, wool will be pulled over our eyes forever. This was a gift that showed the underlying reasons for closing fire-powered coal stations. It's about money and nothing else. It's not about the climate change or anything, which certainly has to be attended to. And if you want to genuinely attend to power stations and their effects, you have to start first by those people who have been inhaling these fumes. If you don't attend to those and compensate them for years of suffering, then your motives for climate are very doubtful. Because the people in Secunda, in the FAL, have been inhaling this all the time. Yeah. Why don't you start with those and compensate them for that?
Dr. Lehohla,
then it will show that we are genuine.
The president, as you say, was in the war room, the Eskom war room. That was when he was deputy president. He's now also, as president, convened the National Energy Crisis Committee, including some of his top ministers. And everything that's unfolding on the sidelines of that, the fact that we now have stage 6 load shedding in place, just as par for the course, this latest increase from Nersa as well. All of these things are in place when industries actually haven't fully gone back to work for 2023. So if this is the situation now, today on the 13th of January, come next Monday, when we are 100% back to work as an economy, when farmers are back to work as well, what happens then?
Well, I mean, Yeltsin, when he took over from Gorbachev, and Gorbachev was the man who was bringing change to Russia. When Yeltsin got in, he was asked, what will happen? How do you see your crystal ball for next year? He said, this year is certainly better. So one can conclude that 2022 was better.
Sure.
We are in for a roller coaster in 2023 because all these things that I talked about are failing on the stake. We see it unraveling all the time. The fact that cable theft, destruction of rail happened in full glare of the government tells us what our state of affairs is and what our state of care for development is. So it hasn't changed. I mean, these things happen in full glare on Twitter, everybody sees them. So what more evidence do you need to know where these things are happening and you kept them? That has not happened. It leaves doubt in citizens and ourselves that what is this government all about?
What a scary, scary thing, Dr. Lehohla, to say that 2022 was better when that was our worst year on record for load shedding. That was last year. What does the next year have in store for us, and who will bear the brunt of exactly what that means? It will obviously be the poorest of the poor. Dr. Pali Lehohla is the director of the Economic Modelling Academy, bringing us some analysis of where we are now insofar as our energy crisis is concerned. Dr. Lehohla, thanks for your time.